We now request the Public Relations and Branding Committee to make the event go live on YouTube. Thank you so much. Once again, hello and welcome to the KJ Somaiya Institute of Management's first international conference on business analytics. I, Simran Sovasarya, along with my co-host Shivani Joshi, are honored to extend a hearty welcome to this engaging academic conference themed Future of Business Analytics, Trend in 2020 and Beyond. With the onslaught of COVID-19 pandemic changing norms into realms of antiquity and presenting plethora of data in certain spheres while leaving other spheres bereft of data, it becomes crucial now more than ever to understand the trends of business analytics to not just survive the pandemic but thrive beyond it. Many can crunch numbers, but analyzing it in the correct business context is vital for growth of businesses. In the current scenario, the business environment is as uncertain as it gets. The crisis has forced leaders to grapple with new data challenges arising from the sweeping shifts in economics and consumer behaviors playing out in the data that feed these analytical models. It is pivotal for businesses to pay heed to the lessons learned from COVID-19 responses, acknowledging that the future will be quite different from the past and build on new and pragmatic ways of working.
Today, we have our director, Dr. Monica Khanna ma'am, with us. She's an experienced academician and professional with around 25 years of academic teaching and research experience in the areas of marketing like strategic brand management, marketing research, and services marketing. Prior to joining academia, she worked with Siemens in the area of engineering and industrial automation. She's won several awards like Women Super Achievers Award at the 18th Devang Mehta Business School and the YK Bhushan Award for the 100 Most Dedicated Teachers of India, to name a few. Ma'am, it's a privilege to have you here amongst us today. I request you to share a few words.
Madam, unmute yourself. Madam, unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. A very good morning to all of you, to all the participants, to all the delegates, to all the department colleagues and other institute colleagues which are present here today for a very prestigious event, that is the first international conference being organized by the Department of Business Analytics at our institute. I must compliment this entire team. They've worked tirelessly day and night to put everything together. And it's also very important to understand that this is a very young department. We created this department just in the year 2020, and that too very much during the lockdown period. We have been thinking about the Department of Business Analytics for quite some time. And though we have a very good faculty base and teaching statistics and various other subjects, it was my thinking and also the thinking of my colleagues that the department, we needed something to represent business analytics also, because statistics has gone much beyond just number crunching and all. So we put up this proposal in front of our management and they were very much agreeable to this. And that's how this Department of Business Analytics was born just during the lockdown. As has been rightly said, we have a plethora of data in front of us. There is a lot of area where we don't have any data also. Like for example, let's say how consumer behavior has changed in the rural markets and how the young generation or the Gen Alpha, how are they different from the Gen Z and the millennials and things like that. So there are various aspects of data that we have or we don't have. And we need very good sophisticated tools for analysis of all this data. And it's all not just about data analysis, it's also about getting insights into the data. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the data has to help us to make very good decisions. And this is what all analytics is all about. So I believe that this is a move in the right direction. And the type of research that's happening in analytics, I think a lot of us are not even aware of it. And the best way to learn is to get all the learned persons and professors from all over the world, including the industry professionals, on a single platform, so that all of us are able to understand what are the latest that is happening in the field of analytics, and specifically with respect to business analytics. So these are platforms which are really helping all of us to get these insights, to get these are all learning moments for all of us. And together we all grow and we develop this area of expertise. I would like to really congratulate the team, Professor Kirti Arekar. She is the head of the Department of Business Analytics. They've put together a wonderful program. We have a very illustrious board of studies for the business analytics also. And I believe that together we learn, we grow, and we create thought leaders and learning moments for all of us. I would like to congratulate again all of you, and I look forward to these wonderful proceedings. I understand you have got some very good papers, and this is all, analysis, and this is all culmination of all the efforts of all that's happened in the past maybe 6 months or so, that all of you have been working on this very prestigious conference. As with other departments, the conferences started maybe a decade ago, maybe even earlier than that. But the manner in which the analytics department has stood on its feet so quickly is something that's really very commendable. So good luck to all of you, and lots of learning and lots of debates and lot of deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Monica ma'am, for your inspiring words. Now we move on to our welcome address. Today we have with us Professor Dr. Kirti Arekar, Head of Department Business Analytics Area, KJ Somaiya Institute of Management. She has an experience of around 22 years in the area of statistics and business analytics. She has published 275 research papers in various universities like Harvard University, the University of Manchester, University of Emirates, Hull Universities, etc. She has conducted several training programs for corporates and has won several awards like the Best Teacher Award for Excellence in Research and Teaching, Higher Education Forum in 2013. She was awarded fellowship by World Business Institute Melbourne, Australia in 2013, BMA for Best Teacher Award in 2019 to name a few. Ma'am, we request you to deliver the welcome address. Ma'am, you are on mute.
Yes, thank you very much for my brief introduction. A very good morning to everyone present here. As Albert Schweitzer had remarked, success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. If you love what you are doing, and you will be successful. It is with immense happiness we inaugurate the first International Business Analytic Conference 2020-21. This is the first one of new series of annual academic conference in the area of business analytics, exploring the all-common role of business analytics in the present-day context. On behalf of KJ Somaiya Institute of Management, I extend a warm welcome to our keynote speakers, Sri Subodha Kulkarni and Sri Vallabha Deevi, our director, Dr. Monica Khanna, esteemed research delegates, and my faculty colleagues and my dear students. Our conference adopts a timely theme, Future of Business Analytics, Trends in 2020 and Beyond. Due to the prevailing pandemic situation, we are holding this conference on a virtual platform. As Edward Deming had aptly said, without data, you are just another person with an opinion. In the current times, analytics play a critical role in the diverse area of management. Business analytics and data are being used in the age of COVID-19 by companies, industries, and healthcare experts to try and mitigate the effects of pandemic. It is no surprise to see the rapid growth of business intelligence and data analytics in the current business landscape. Businesses are growing increasingly digital and business analytics support them in accurately measuring every phase of the business operations by providing them with valuable insights that supports them in developing or updating systems, processes, features, and products that are beneficial to both customers and the employees. I am sure that this conference will be productive and will provide a platform to the researcher and the students to enhance their knowledge. In closing, I hope that all of you will enjoy the conference and best wishes to all the presenter. Thank you very much and all the best for the future conference.
Thank you, Kirti ma'am. Thank you so much for your inspiring words. We now
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. We now request the release of the conference proceeding book of this first International Business Analytics Conference, for which researchers from across the globe have contributed by submitting their research papers. Thank you. Now, we have our first speaker for the day, Professor Dr. Subodha Kumar. Sir is the Paul R. Anderson Distinguished Professor for Marketing and Supply Chain Management at Temple University's Fox School of Business. He has joint appointments in Information Systems and Statistical Science. He also serves as the Director of Center for Data Analytics and the PhD Concentration Advisor for Operations and Supply Chain Management. Sir has published several papers in reputed journals and conferences. In addition, he has also authored a book and co-authored 2 book chapters, 2 Harvard Business School cases and 4 Ivy Business School cases. So also has a patent. He is also the Deputy Editor and Department Editor of Production and Operations Management and the Deputy Editor-in-Chief of Management and Business Review. He has served as a Senior Editor of Decision Sciences and an Associate Editor of Information Systems Research. He also serves on various other editorial boards, including POMS. Professor Dr. Kumar also serves on the advisory boards of Insights and the Srini Raju Center for IT and the Network Economy at ISB. He has received numerous research and teaching awards. It's a privilege to have you here as our speaker today, sir. We are eager to hear your thoughts. The virtual stage is all yours, sir.
Welcome to my talk. So in this talk, I'm going to talk about a series of problems I'm working on. And my work is at the interface of many different disciplines. So I'm going to touch on that. I'm not going to talk about one problem. Rather, I will like to give you a broad idea of how the areas intersect and what kind of research problems emerge from that. And I'll talk about a series of problems that I'm working on at different stages right now. I'm more than happy to take any questions through email, so please feel free to email it to me. My email is there. You can also go to my website through this QR code. So please send me. I'll be more than happy to take any comments or questions you may have. So let's get started. In the interest of time, I'll not get into too much detail of the projects maybe, but I'll try to still cover what is needed to get a broad idea. Most of my research methodology-wise in 2 areas. One is data analytics. In data analytics, I mostly look at econometric models, predictive model, machine learning. And then second is decision analytics. where we look at math model, OR problems, math programming, dynamic optimization, and so on. And any topic that I work on, I try to work in both domain, both methodology on that particular domain. So I have written a series of papers on how this interface research is very important, both from the academic perspective and industry perspective. And I'm writing a few more pieces. You may want to look at that if you're interested in interface research. Also, as I told you, can go to my QR code, or please go to my website. You can read my papers or media mentions, and feel free to write me your comments and questions. I'll be more than happy to take those. And I have also written a book a couple of years back where I have tried to compile in some of the book chapters. I have given the links here, so you can go there and you can look at that. So let me come to the topics that I'm going to talk about. I've listed a lot of topics here. I'll see how far I can go in the limited time. My idea will be to give you a good idea of what kind of research I'm working on each of these topics. So let's start with the very current topic, which everybody's interested in, blockchain. Now, one of the things in blockchain right now is that, which is the biggest question, is that can we make it scalable? And that was my first question we wanted to address. So in this one, we have collected data from Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin is not all blockchain, but it is the first application of blockchain. So it's a good place to get data and get started. So we have collected data and tried to understand one of the scaling solutions that they implemented, how it worked and what were the implications. So those who know about blockchain, you know that you have a sender, which could be service provider and customers. They start a transaction. Then there are miners who mine. I'm not going to detail of technical details of miners, but those who know, you know what I'm talking about. So these miners basically do some process, and after that transaction is added to the blockchain, and the receiver can receive a fee. But there's a delay here, and there's a fee involved. So we are looking at these two aspects mainly, the delay and fee. So what really happened in Bitcoin around a couple of years back is that they tried to reduce the content inside the block. So for example, in every block, there is a signature. They took it outside so that the block can fit more content and things can be faster, hopefully. That is the idea. So we want to understand what happened after this change was made, and then when different parties started using that change. We took data from 29 prominent service providers, and our transaction covered approximately 1.13 trillion. And we tried to see, so this is the line here shows that that's when SegWit implementation was done, and we tried to see what is the impact on customer and service provider in terms of the fee. So we say that sometimes fees goes down, but not always. And we have rigorous econometric methods with a lot of controls and all. I'm not going to details of that. And then you also have this delay part, right, which is the key part, how to make the blockchain scalable and reduce the delay. And we find the delay does not necessarily reduce. And then we have a lot of nuanced results in the paper that we go deeper into that. So this I'm very excited. This gives us some pathway into where the blockchain is leading. Then another area that working also is that, now look at this was the data analytics part. Then I go to decision analytics part. In the decision analytics part, we look at who will adopt, who should be adopting, what is the strategic behavior in adopting and not adopting blockchain. And this paper we have submitted to MSOM. Now, by the way, my papers that I'm presenting are with different co-authors. Most of them I can tell are PhD students or young faculty who really bring a lot of energetic idea. So I'm not listing all the authors' names. You can find that on my website, or some of them have been presented in conferences and so on. So you can always find that. So in this problem, we look at the idea of advertising market, because that's a big market. It covers a huge chunk of money, as I've listed here, and it is growing. So we wanted to see in advertising market, online advertising market, what is happening with the adoption of blockchain. Now, in online advertising market, there are three big challenges. Number one, ad fraud. So what happens? The advertisers pay based on the clicks, but the publishers or any third party may create a lot of fraud clicks. And this is a big problem. Fraud click is around 40% of online ad traffic, and it is costing advertisers around 16 billion annually. So big part. Now there are middlemen also in online advertising that also create problems. They take some commission, and sometimes the delay also happens. So delay is a big part in online advertising because people don't get payment on time. So then people have started looking at blockchain-based solution. In blockchain-based solution, what happens is that now, first of all, these are the service provider of online advertising market for blockchain. And you can see that there are a lot of companies coming in there. Companies like Toyota has already started using it, and they are using Lucidity blockchain, which is one of the providers for blockchain. So it is really a big and growing area right now. And a lot of money is supposedly going to go into that in very near future. So hopefully, most likely we are going to see a lot of interest from research perspective as well. So here what we try to do in this paper is that we look at from the perspective of advertiser first. So what happens, advertisers, the click fraud will go away. So they're very happy about that. That's a positive things about that. The negative side is that there's a blockchain fee. So there was I told you what, you remove the middleman and commission, but then you add a blockchain fee, which usually is lower than middleman fee. So it's still not too bad. For the publisher side, yes, there's no delay in receiving the payment. So that's a positive part. The delay is reduced, but they have no room for manipulation. So what we do is that we try to look at, should the publisher assign, now the publisher is these days working with both blockchain-based advertiser and non-blockchain-based advertiser. So the point is that how should they allocate the spot? Because in online advertising, the spot is very important. You give the higher spot, then they may get more clicks and so on. So blockchain-based advertisers should get higher block or non-blockchain-based. And for the advertiser, should they adopt blockchain or stay in traditional channels? So that's the game theoretic model we look at. And we look at different kind of questions on that. So the first paper was on the econometric modeling, second was game theoretic model. Now I'm going to area of healthcare, which is certainly one of the exciting area in disruptive technology. And there are a series of work I've done with a company in Philadelphia. And some of these was capstone project in business analytics program. We have given that. The very first one, we look at the diabetic foot disease problem, which is a big problem globally. It has a lot of cost and a lot of amputations are happening. What we do is that we have collected data, and it's an actual implemented project. So what we did is that we took all this data, and then we did a lot of data mining, deep learning, data visualization, and then we did image analytics. So here, basically, you can take thermal images, do image analytics, and without any incision, you can do a lot of prediction. That is the basic idea here. And then we look at all these different image analytics method. We do hierarchical clustering. And then at the end of the day, through this deep learning method, we use the neural network model 3. And we try to see that can you identify the diseases through this image analytics. Also, you do proactive foot care, assessment, patent identification, and so on. Now, you may think how to publish this in business school journal, right? That's a good question to ask. Sounds very exciting, but is it really business school? It is a business school research, first of all, because this is where we can utilize our business skills to solve practical problems. So in my mind, there's no doubt. Are the journals open to that? Yes. Journals are becoming more and more open, and I'll talk about some of the projects which are recently published on this kind of line in top journals. So I'll talk about that. But the goal focus, one thing that we miss, it should not look like a machine learning or AI paper, which is very attractive to computer science journals. It should still be marketed to business school faculty and students. That is the key part. If you are able to do that, you are in good shape. So, and we had extension of this project actually, where we look at now pulse wave analytics. In this one, we took similar approach, but we look at the pulse wave here, and we're working with a company in Philadelphia, as I told, and we do time series predictive modeling, applied ML, and statistical analysis. And using that, We try to see the early detection of cardiopathy or improving the medical supervision. We also look at how demographics information could be used and can be used it for early detection of diseases. So a lot of business impact comes out of that. Now, so you saw in the healthcare, we can do in the blockchain improvement or adoption. Now, there's a related area which is very big right now, is shared economy. So some of my work is in that, and this is with PhD students. This one, all three basically here are with PhD students here, and this also I'm trying to involve some PhD students. So every paper you will see that some PhD students are involved in one way or the other. This paper we are revising for management science. These days you get a lot of reject-free submits, so that's what we have here. And here, let me talk briefly about what we try to do. As you all know about shared economy, is a big thing. In the US, the biggest players are Uber and Lyft. So we use that as a motivation, but it can apply anywhere. And a lot of money is going there, as we all know. I don't need to motivate that part. And what we look at the demand supply problems, classic operations problem. So drivers availability depends on how you incentivize them, and the demand keeps changing. So the question comes is that should you keep updating your price, and how, and what is the impact of wait time on those prices? So does having a better initial perception economically justify charging higher prices? Is dynamic pricing vital? Sometimes we show that not necessarily. And do both ride-hail platform become more profitable if customers become more sensitive to waiting? So those are the questions we are trying to answer here. And then I had other problems on data sharing and also the entry and subscription market. This paper we had published in POM last year. And this one we are revising as in fourth round in ISR right now, where we look at the competition between incumbent and entrant in a subscription market. I'll not go into too much details of that. Anybody interested, I can provide. So I'll switch to another area. As I told, I'll keep switching different domains, and I'll keep touching on that. Second one, which I work a lot, is social media analytics, and I spend a lot of time. I've been working for last 6-7 years. And I'll only talk about the most recent work, by the way. The older paper you can find on my website. So one of the recent work which we published a couple of years back was based on data from Yelp. And in this data, we tried to see in 2009, Yelp had created a new change in the platform that business owners can go and respond to the comments. Like you go to a restaurant and you don't like the food, and you go and write on Yelp. Yelp is a review website, by the way, if you don't know. And then business owners can respond and say, "Oh, I'm sorry about that," and they can take some action. So we wanted to see what is the impact of adding such kind of feature. That was the basic idea of this paper that we published in Information Systems Research. Then I took the approach of these two papers are pure machine learning papers, and as you can see, the papers are publishable. That's what I was trying to say. But you have to make the business angle of it. Here we take Yelp data again, and we try to see that how you can create supervised and unsupervised learning algorithms to find fake reviewers, not fake reviews, fake reviewers. And there's a difference, because when you look at fake reviewers, then you can take different features, and using feature engineering, you can create nice algorithms. So we published both of them in Journal of Management Information Systems. Then we continued on that research. And here, what we tried to do, and this is with another PhD student from Tsinghua, and here what we try to do is that we try to see, do platforms deliberately sometimes not keep a very tight control on catching fake reviews. So online reviews is a big thing on e-commerce platform. A lot of people use online reviews, we all know. And because of that reason, sellers are incentivized to manipulate reviews. Now, what does it mean? That means that sellers can hire somebody to write fake reviews, find good reviews, or they can use algorithms. And this is, or they can buy it from third-party firm. Since so much money is involved and people rely so much on reviews, that this incentive is increasing. On the other hand, platforms like Amazon and Yelp, they have algorithms to stop them. They have filtering algorithm, they have penalty. But the question comes is that still fake review is a big problem. And many websites are reporting lately. Now, question is that why they are not able to fix it? It's really a big puzzle. Really, they don't have a good algorithm to do that? Hard to believe. These are high-tech companies. So why aren't they doing enough? And we try to understand that. So we look at two types of seller, high quality and low quality. They can manipulate online reviews. Should they manipulate? That's the question we are asking there. And then sellers' behavior really hurt the platform or not. So we look at the platform perspective as well. And they look at, am I better off with a more accurate algorithm or not? So we basically try to look at more game theoretic models set up there and try to understand what is going on. Okay? Then, and we look at some data aspect as well. And then another problem that I work on is the effect of social media content. Now, we look at this problem from the perspective of Indian general election, but the idea is very broad. The idea essentially is to look at from the human brand perspective. Now, human brand perspective is a big thing because in human brand, you try to influence others by saying, telling something. So even though we have taken an election as a context, the results are applicable to large human brand perspective. So let me give you an idea about what we are doing here. So we look at the questions like, what is the driver of popularity of human brand? Human brand are humans who are writing on social media, basically, or it does not have to be even on social media. Human brand can be anywhere, any celebrity who's advertising is human brand, but we are focusing on social media part. So we study how the sentiment of tweet of this human brand impact the social media engagement, and what is the spillover effect. The spillover effect means every human brand might be associated with some company or some bigger brand. So how does the brand tweet versus that human brand tweet, and what is the impact of that? In election, it is very simple. You look at the party and candidate. Okay, so it becomes very simple to take that context, and that's why we have done that. We extracted around 23 million tweets for Indian election 2014, and we did the sentiment analysis. We looked at different algorithm of sentiment analysis, and then we ran econometric model. So here we look at the positive, negative, and mixed tweet. Also the interaction terms, how that interact with party post, and what is the impact on retweet, which is the engagement measure, but we look at the other engagement measure as well. And then we extended this study to a newer phenomena which is happening right now. It is about hashtag. So you can trademark hashtag these days. Now, when you say trademarking a hashtag, that is kind of against the core of the hashtag, because in the hashtag you should not trademark, right? Because hashtag should be free flow. But sometimes it can be misused. Their example of McDonald's hashtag was misused and others as well. So the company started trademarking, and we try to understand that what is the impact of trademarking on the company. So just in terms of the context, this paper we are revising again for Management Science with Executive Summit. This one is forthcoming in ISR. You can actually download, and this one we are revising for ISR. Another thing that we did in China, there is a lot of push on social pricing. What does it mean? So for example, you're buying something, and when you're buying, they will give you a code which you share through your social media. In China, they do it through WeChat, but in any other part of the world, you can think whatever platform is popular. But in China, as many of you may know, WeChat is the key thing there. So what happens is, we try to see, we work with a company. This was a randomized field experiment. We try to see what is the impact of different policies in the social pricing. It's very exciting. We have submitted to third round to ISR. Now we are revising right now, third round in ISR. And then I work with a company in Philadelphia. It's called Develop Me, and they work on HR analytics. So what they have done, they have implemented this app for many companies, where the companies can, in the real time, you can give feedback to your colleagues. It could be your boss, it could be your subordinate or peer. And the idea is that you can give scores, you can give comments, you can give anonymous with name and so on. And since many companies are moving towards this real-time feedback idea, what is the impact of that? So first paper again is forthcoming in ISR. and you can download it, I believe, from the website. And then we have extended that by looking at the network embeddedness of that we have resubmitted to ISR. And then we have extended that to some satirical news. Now, see, here you will see the flavor. I have a lot of IS papers, but I also have taken the marketing angle of that, where we look at satirical news and so on. Now, when I was working on especially this paper on human brand, I realized that the selection of human brand is a big problem for many companies. How do I decide the influencers? And many times influencers are not a big celebrity. Influencers could be somebody who is well known in the community. For example, you start a data analytics startup and you may want to hire a blogger who is very famous in that community, right? So, or it could be a celebrity as well. So how do you select influencers? That's what we do in influencer marketing here. The whole we look at here, I go back to the core of math programming and network flow models. And we do empirical side as well in this one. And then I have some other work which I published in a variety of journals, like in B2B and C2C. I'll talk about this project, which we have we just got another round of revision in ISR with third round. So we are revising it again. And this is an interesting phenomena that is happening in different parts of the world. So we look at it in the context of online learning, which is a big market right now. In online learning, there are different players, and every firm is trying to see how they can capitalize. So one of the ideas in online learning that is emerging is that, and which is popular in China and many other countries, is that if you subscribe to this online learning, you can create some gamification process. What it means is that they will ask you to do some task, like post about this you're learning on social media platform, right? Or they can ask you to do some other tasks. So the question comes is that when you go and post these things, then they give you money back. So if you purchase the course, you can do the clock in, whatever they have defined. And if you do the clock in, your money gets refunded. You get all your money back, your fee, course fee. But, and this is one of the examples that I have put where full course of the refund fee. And then if you fail to clock in, you still pay the course fee and the firm will get money from course revenue. And if the customer do or the subscriber do the clock in and they get the fee refund, the firm can still get money from future revenue from other paid courses as well as word of mouth and so on from both of them. So we try to create a game theoretic model here and try to see how they can solve, what should be the length of the clock in window, how long they should ask their subscribers to clock in, and so on. We look at different trade-off and set of research questions. So that's again, game theoretic model. So I'll stop here with the social media part. Let me change gears and go to healthcare analytics now, which is one of my biggest interests have been last 10 years. Now, again, I will only focus on the most recent work. I'll not go to the older work. So in this one, what we do is that we look at this data was collected from Indian online healthcare portal Practo. And what we try to see, Practo has done a policy change in terms of, or feature change on where doctors can go and respond to the comments of the patients. And we try to see what is the impact of that change. Very similar to my Yelp project, as I told. And this we published last year in ISR. Let me give you some idea on that. So Practo is the Uber of doctor-patient market. We look at the introduction of Q&A feature, and we do natural experiment pre and post, and we look at city-wise data. We find that positive reviews can help improve online reputation, but what is the impact of doctor response on patient satisfaction? We also look at the spillover effect of one doctor over other doctors. If one doctor responds to questions, other does not, then what happens, or to the comments rather. Then we look at that. And then we have looked at a lot of signaling, spillover effect, moderating factors, and so on. Now we have extended this study in context of China. And I'm working on a series of problems in China on online healthcare portals. In this one, what we have looked at is when a doctor open online consultation, how does it impact her or his offline appointments? And we have collected data from two major healthcare online portals, and we have revised this paper to ISR. And then I work in the US context. So I told you India context, China context, and the US context, I'm working a lot on healthcare information exchanges. Now, healthcare information exchange is a big area in US healthcare market, and we try to look at different issues in that. This was the very first paper that we look at. This is going on in management science for quite some time. Hopefully will converge. So idea is that in healthcare information exchange, so this is the place where there is no healthcare information exchange. But if there is a healthcare information exchange, then different healthcare entity can pull data from each other. They don't store anybody else's data, but they can pull data in real time. That is the idea here. And there are a lot of benefits have been told. What we focus on is that two benefits. The one is improved patient care defined by reduced length of stay and readmission and less doctor-nurse utilization. We focus on these aspects here. And this is it's an econometric model, and we are revising right now. We extended that on the lab test order and so on. So it's a similar data set. Now, this is one paper which is very close to my heart, and I'll say that this is where you really see that how the predictive modeling and the design science approach can be combined and still published in top journal. So here we work with one hospital, and we try to create a personalized treatment plan for breast cancer. So we took the very granular data and say that using the data and predictive analytics, you can create design treatment plan for breast cancer patient. And this is also forthcoming in ISR. And it's a good paper to see how this kind of things you can now publish in top journals in ISOM and marketing. Then we look at another aspect from China context. Here we say in China, there's a kind of tradition of giving gift to doctors. What we try to look here is that how does it impact the focal patient and other patients? And we are revising it for POM right now. We look at more operations angle here. Another paper which is forthcoming on POM, we look at more operational side. I'll not go into too much detail. This one, actually, we work with one of the large university hospitals, and we change their operation theater practices. So what happens is that in operations room, when you take the patient, they have to go to a waiting room. And when to take the patient to waiting room is complicated because surgery times are uncertain. We don't know when the operation theater will be empty. So we made some process changes, and that's what we have done. And finally is a policy paper that we have revised for POM. We try to see that healthcare readmission reduction program. Now we took these ideas, and then I worked on several game theoretic as well as OR problems. So first paper is a game theoretic model where we look at the sustainability of healthcare information exchanges. How should they price their services and so on. So first one is game theoretic. Second one, we take a math programming approach. Again, these are just the first one have been now few years, but I put it in there because I wanted to create this contrast. And the OR paper is the most recently came last year. It came, and then I have some other paper. I'll change gear on another area that I work extensively in omni-channel retailing. This one, I have worked with several retailers in this one retailer. And here you will see that I will also contrast how I take ISOM and marketing angle. So in this project, basically, we'll try to look at that when a firm open online store, physical store, what happens to the impact of it on their online as well as store sales and return, which is a big question right now for firms. So how does the online-offline interaction works? And this we published last year in ISR. So our idea, what is the causal effect of retailer store opening on online purchase behavior for existing customers, and what are the underlying cause mechanisms? So we use difference in difference method for that. Then we took a marketing approach on that. How do I identify the channel choice of customer? That's a very marketing problem. So I took a very similar data set. I first took IS approach, then I took marketing that we are revising for Journal of Marketing Research right now. And then I took an OM approach of the same problem. And in fact, this paper was nominated for best paper in JOM among last year publications. And here we look at abusive returner. So how can I identify somebody who is buying item with the intention of returning, and how can we weed them out? That is the idea here. And then I have extensions of these papers. We look at the different aspect of that. I'll not get too much detail, but I see you can take ISOM and marketing problem. These days, these areas are merging. So don't get to stick to a silo. And one of the paper, again, one of my most favorite papers here, we try to look at that how this showrooming, which is an emerging phenomena, can impact the decisions and how can you deal with that. So here what we do, showrooming is that you look in the store but buy online. So this Wall Street Journal article, this talks about a lot of stores are matching prices. They're also making subscription prices and making it harder for competitors to have the same item. So for example, you go to a store, you like the item, but if it is very difficult to find the exactly same item online, then you're good, right? People will have some doubt in their mind. So we look at different strategies, short-term and long-term strategy, and we try to analyze that. Again, this is an interesting paper, game theoretic model. And we have extended that paper by including the idea of supplier in that. What is the role of supplier in that? And that we are revising in third round for management science right now. Another extension of that is that what should be the assortment omni-channel retailer keep on online and offline channel. And then I have some on the waiting time. And this is one of the videos you can find on my website. I talked to NBC about how, what firms can do about that. Now, digital advertising is, of course, closest to me because this was my PhD dissertation and I worked on it before Google started. So this was always tricky. I'll not go to things I did 20 years back or more than 20 years back. I'll talk about more recent ones. So we worked with a company in Boston called Chitika, which is now called Sidewalk. And we implemented them. Here, the idea was not to decide which ad to put, but when not to put the ad. Because if the person is not going to click, then rather you don't show the ad to the person. That was the idea here. We were finalists for the Wagner Prize, and then we eventually published in Operations Research. And then, as I told, I have written a book on that. More recent work, we look at the interaction between the flexible and committed advertising. And this is a very technical paper, but at the same time, very practical. Here we look at the open loop and feedback nest differential equations, which gets very complicated, but it addresses very practical problems. And another paper that also came in, both of these came in ISR last year. Here we look at when somebody is on a YouTube channel or any video channel like Youku and so on, how to show them the ad. So in the classic inventory model, we say that when your inventory is down, then place the order. Here we do the reverse. When the excitement is high, then show the ad, but don't bring the advertisement low enough that they leave the website. So how to manage that? That is the idea here. And then I have some extensions of that. One of them we are revising from management science, other for ISR. I'll not go again in detail. Now, IT and platform management, this is another interest. I've been, because my work is the interface of IS and marketing and OM. So I always work on the IT and platform because this right comes here. And this is the one work we have worked with JD.com. This is again in collaboration with JD.com. We have implemented that when to show the ad. Timing is very important. If somebody has bought an item, you don't show the ad right away because you should wait. You have to know when they will buy the next time. And this is a mix of data and model. And then we have one on software vulnerability. Some of the analytical modeling work I have done, this is the context of two government, how they can collaborate on IT. Because governments don't compete with each other, like state government, two state government or two province government, they don't compete. So how they can collaborate. And then I have some other work where we look at congestion. Actually, this we just revised the paper and resubmitted, and we have some on cloud computing. I'll not go too much detail on that. I'll try to close it with a couple of final points. I also work on supply chain analytics and series of work. Again, it's a mix of OM, IS, and marketing. But one of the things that is close to me these days is sustainability and humanitarian operations. And this is really close to my heart. I work with FEMA and other agencies on different problems. One of the problems that we work with government of China, they have a problem with industry violators. A lot of people in industry violate the norms. So how can you use a machine learning based method to catch them? And we basically, what we do, we create a tool where we create a feature engineering approach and positive and unbalanced learning. And then we have went and implemented it actually. And the paper also is forthcoming in POM. So it's a good idea to implement it and then publish it. Then second one is that we look at when should the manufacturer allow their retailers to refurbish, like Apple allowing Best Buy to refurbish. Again, that paper we are revising for POM. And this one is that should a firm do a trade-in program, or they should rather so they can these days some sellers like Patagonia, they run a trading program on their website. You can come and return your old item and you can get discount on the new item. And some of these manufacturers and retailers, they also run the resale marketplace themselves. They are selling the new item and they also run the marketplace where you bring your item and you can resell on that. So why would they do that? And we see when it is beneficial for them to do this kind of strategy. So we look at the sustainable aspect and money, and in what kind of scenario this go together, and what kind of scenario they are different. Like your objective, when you increase sustainability, then your profit decreases. And I work on US coin supply chain and Mexico note supply chain as well. These were the last couple of papers. I'll not go into details. I also work with food banks, and I've written an IV case on that, in fact, and we are working on some papers on that. So, my idea goal here was to give you a broad view of a lot of research on ISOM and marketing interface. I hope you find interesting and take something out of it. As I mentioned earlier, I'm more than happy to take any questions through email. And thank you for listening, and good luck. As I told, keep improving on these projects and keep working on interface. I think there's a lot you can do if you work on that. With that, I'll stop here, and thank you so much, and good luck.
Thank you so much, sir, for such wonderful insight, for sharing such wonderful insights with us. It has been a great value addition, and there's definitely been some deep learning. Now we have our second speaker for the day, Professor Dr. Sri Vallabha Deevi. Sir has expertise in the field of machine learning, statistical analysis, predictions, reduced order modeling, and simulation of physical systems. In the past, he has worked on statistical analysis of experimental data from sprays to develop models for secondary atomization of liquid droplets. He has worked on spray modeling as applied to gas turbines engines for his PhD. He established the application of explicit filtering LES method for dilute multiphase flows and has also developed a CFD solver 3D Cartesian, compact schemes, and arbitrary grid stretching. He has also worked on plant modeling and simulation of vehicle systems and components. He has developed mathematical models for physical systems and uses models for concept evaluation, optimization, and control strategy development. Currently, he's the lead data scientist at Tiger Analytics and is also working on object recognition in image and video using deep learning with techniques like transfer learning and fine tuning. It's great to have you here, sir, as our speaker today. I believe I speak for everyone that you are really excited to hear your thoughts. Audience members can raise their virtual hands or send their questions on the chat box. We'll have a Q&A session after sir's address. The virtual stage is all yours, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me share my screen. One moment. I hope you are able to see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I cannot start video for some reason. You can turn on the video for me. Otherwise, you can leave it as it is. And good morning, everybody. And thank you very much for the opportunity to talk at the first International Business Analytics Conference at KJ Somaiya. Professor Subodha Kumar has given a very good insight into the academic world of business analytics, what you do or what you can do if you get into if you get into the research stream of business analytics. I will try to present what you would see or what you might face if you get into the corporate world. Let us say after your 2-year course or some program at KJ Somaiya, you join an industry. What is it that you are most likely to see today compared to what you would have seen if things were normal? So that is the theme of my talk, the future of business analytics trends in 2020 and beyond. And given my background, I'll try to focus more on the data science problems that we see on the day-to-day basis in an industry. So this will be the outline of my talk. I'll present, there'll be a brief introduction, and I will talk of the shift and see what companies are doing to adapt to this new normal. So if you look at what happened in the Indian context, I'll primarily focus it on India because that is where we all are, and most likely it might be that you will be working in an Indian company once you graduate. So looking at things that happened, say in 2019 versus 2020, this is a report from the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. The consumer spending that people spend on the goods, consumer goods, it fell from around 2 trillion to 14 trillion, sorry, 21 trillion to 14 trillion in December. In the last quarter of Jan, in the last quarter of Jan 2019, the spending was around 21 trillion rupees. And in the lockdown quarter, the quarter when the lockdown happened, March, April, and May, or April, May, and June, it fell to 14 trillion. So basically there was a reset in the business world when people when there was a lockdown, when it was all uncertain to us on how do we handle COVID and other scenarios, people went into a very conservative mode, and the business spending, the money that people spent on their businesses, business on their consumer goods really dropped, because partly because of the COVID induced lockdowns, people who could spend could not go out, and people whose livelihood depended upon businesses opening up and running, they could not really have disposable income to spend. So if you look at these numbers, the broad numbers that came from the government, you see that there is around 30% disposable income with people, assuming that everybody has stopped their discretionary spending and people spent only on essential goods. Now, post the lockdown quarter, say April, May, June, post April, May, June 2020, coming back to the last quarter of 2020, you see that the spending has risen gradually and it has come back to almost to the pre-pandemic levels. So pre-COVID, it was around $21 trillion. And in the last quarter of 2020 as well, we see that the spending is around $21 trillion to 21 trillion rupees. But you know that offline stores are opening slowly, right? If you look at it for yourself, you might not have been moving out, visiting malls or visiting shops as frequently as you would have done in 2019. So if people are not going and visiting offline stores so frequently, people are not very comfortable going to a mall for shopping or going to a big shopping complex and buying things offline, what is happening? What is driving the increase in spending? It is predominantly driven by online. We will see a few more data points which support the fact that spending online has increased in the Indian context. So online spending, I hope you can see my video as well. India has the second largest internet user base. We are the second largest country where people have access to the internet. And there is a double-digit growth in average online spending. People are spending online compared to 2019 and 2020. We see a double-digit growth. It's not like 2-3%, but more than 10%. Electronics, there is a 39% growth. Mobiles are 12% and fashions are 10%. There are two parts to it. One part is the natural growth that would have happened year on year. And the second part is induced by COVID. When there is a lockdown, you know that you can't go out. Suddenly people have started seeing the need for good electronics, like a good laptop or a good computer or a good mobile to talk or to virtually commute to office. And in the 4 days of shopping festivals that ran in 2020, there were around $3.1 billion in sales, and 70% of Snapdeal's orders came from Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. These are just a few data points to support the fact that spending has moved online, meaning businesses now are more online than online, or more online than offline, or people are coming to the business via an online channel rather than an offline channel. So these are some insights from the Economic Times. They say that India's e-commerce growth is 78% in 2020, whereas US and China are on the top, 18% and 20% growth. But still, Indian e-commerce growth itself is a significant story. And the 2020 Indian e-commerce spending, you see on the right side plot, you see that the top bar plot is the amount of money spent, and the bottom plot is the amount of people who have bought online. So I would advise, or I would look at it with caution, because there is also a COVID effect which happened together. So 5 billion customers who shopped online, becoming 8.3 billion by 2020 is also partly due to COVID, but this trend may not reverse so easily, meaning if things open up, people may not likely to go back to the offline shopping mode. We will see soon as to why that might not happen. Similarly, you see that 47 million people purchased online in, 2019, whereas 88 million purchased online in the consumer year 2020. So we see that there is a significant growth. More dollars are being spent, or more money is being spent, as well as more people are buying online. This is what we see as what is happening. And so these are some segments that they call out as being important, or as segments that will drive growth. The most important thing would be direct to consumer, where more brands will enable you to order online and deliver to you directly to your home. It can be two ways. One is purely online way, like Amazon or Flipkart. The second one would be like a hybrid way. You order online, but you pick up offline, where the online channel then communicates to a nearby retail store where they keep your order ready and you just go and pick up your order at the store. This is a hybrid model. Both these are important, or both these are going to play a key role. Some other segments are grocery, e-pharmacy, social commerce, and some super apps which are driving sales. So these are some segments which are like the key to watch out for in 2021, and which will drive the growth. And these are the areas where people are spending. If you saw online spending in 2020, what are the business segments, or what are the kinds of goods that people are buying online? So consumer electronics drive 40% of it. Consumer electronics being mobiles, laptops, electronic accessories, musical accessories, all those things, TVs and all. Then another 40% is by apparels, people buying their clothing online, and food and grocery, jewelry occupy two other significant portions. So whichever company you might join post your study, if you're joining any of these, an electronics company or an apparel company, or even a food, grocery, or a jewelry company, you are bound to see significant online sales. It is not going to be offline store sales anymore. You also have to make sure that you are available online for people to come online and buy. Now, if you have to do all this, what is it that the businesses need to do, or what is it that you will see as an employee in a company who is driving the sales? What are the changes that you will see when the company moves from offline to online, or offline to a hybrid model? That is what I will try to summarize as a part of my talk. And I'll try to keep it simple and talk about the more of the business challenges that you see, or the transitions that you see. Please feel free to stop me or raise hands, or maybe I'll take the questions at the end of the talk. Anything is fine. So if you look at the traditional approach, in the earlier world, if there is a consumer or a customer, they want to buy something. Imagine you yourself be shopping, say 3 years ago, not really last year, not really 2 years before, but say 3 years ago, you wanted to buy a mobile phone or a TV. You would visit different shops, you would go to 4 or 5 places and see what is on sale there. You talk to the salesman and then you make a decision. So the problem there is, if you have to buy something online, offline, you have to go and visit a shop. That is time taking, time consuming. You have to go and visit some places physically. You have to talk to people. And by chance, if you meet a very good salesman who is able to convince you, you might as well buy something at a slightly higher price. You cannot really walk out of the store. Human interactions are not really, it is not easy for us to say sorry to a very good salesman or saleswoman who is trying to sell a product to us. So, but when people move to online, the customer has a significant advantage. I need not go anywhere. I can sit in my home, use my laptop or a mobile, and I can try to browse through and see what all is available in the market. I can purchase at leisure. There is no hurry. I go to shopping on a Saturday afternoon. I need to come back home by Saturday evening, or I went out on Sunday morning. I need to return by Sunday afternoon. These kinds of problems are not there for the customers anymore. They can spend as much time as possible trying to browse, trying to read and understand what they are going to buy. The second fact that they are going to buy online also makes a wide variety of products available to them. Earlier, if you go into any mall or any big electronic store, you would see some types of brands or some types of products that the store owner is promoting. So, for example, you go to a mobile store or a mall to buy a mobile, they might be promoting one or the other brand depending upon their tie-up with the manufacturer. So you might not really see a wide variety of items. Something that came in or that was released last week and all might not be available there. Whereas if you are buying online, you don't have that problem. You have a wide variety of items. You can buy the latest item from anywhere. It can be, the supplier can be say in Mumbai, or maybe he can be in Delhi or Chennai as well. You can still get your item. You can also compare prices. This is a significant advantage for the customer. If I am the customer, I'm trying to buy something, I would like to compare the prices. How much is it costing me to buy this particular TV or this particular mobile phone? And are there any other better mobile phones available at the same at the same configuration but for a better price? So this kind of comparison is now easy. You need not write down anything on the paper, or you need not do the mental calculation in the head, but you can compare. There are websites which will help you compare. You can also read reviews, what people are saying after they use the mobile phone and all. The only flip side that I feel there is in this whole scenario is that customers may miss the touch and feel. Some people would like to feel, especially if you're buying clothing, you would like to touch and see how the clothing is and all. So these kinds of problems might be there for the customer, but companies are trying hard to even do away with that by saying that you can try out and return if you don't like it, and then by showing you some augmented reality where you put your photo and they put the dress on the photo kind of thing. So these kinds of things are all being taken care of by the sellers to make sure that a customer doesn't really see so much of difference while shopping online as compared to shopping offline. Now, what changes for the seller or the business owner? If you are the business owner, what changes for you when a majority of your customers are coming online to buy and not visiting your typical retail stores? The first thing is that you have wider audience. Unlike physical stores, where a store in Mumbai, people from Mumbai are likely to visit, but you might not get much more audience from, say, Pune or Nagpur in the Maharashtra context. Right now, people from all over India can look at your store, can look at what is available on the store and place an order. So the first thing, or the biggest advantage that a seller will have, is now he's open to the entire country, or maybe internationally also if they ship internationally. So that is the biggest advantage. Now there are reduced store running costs. If you switch to a pure online mode or a hybrid mode, you need not have too many store fronts in costly places in the city. You need not hire a showroom and pay a lot of rents. You can switch to a small hub and spoke model where you have a big warehouse, and from there you directly ship to the customer, or you directly ship to some smaller warehouses which can be optimally located. So the store running costs are reduced for a seller or a business owner. But then there is an increased complexity of delivery logistics. So if you are a seller in the old world, by old world I mean say before 2019 or 2018, if you are a seller there, all that you need to do is to make sure that your goods reach your retailer's warehouse. You talk to few people. If you have a wide network in the state, you may have at most say few tens of retailers. You just have to make sure that your product reaches those tens of retailers, say 20 people, 30 people. You communicate or interact with them and make sure the goods reaches there. That much is fine. But now if you are doing a direct online sale, you have to make sure that your goods will reach all the thousands of customers who buy online. So the delivery logistics is a challenge. Now, just like you, there are also sellers in other places who will now have audience from your own city. If you are some electronic seller in Mumbai, but things have moved online, say an electronic seller from Chennai or Kolkata or Delhi are also your competitors, because people in Mumbai can even order from Chennai or Delhi. There is no restriction because it's all online. So you will have more competition. You have to improve your business efficiency. And the last thing is that there is an uncertainty in demand. So this some of you might have seen just after the lockdown, where we wanted to buy specific items, say a good mobile phone for talking or communicating. There was a huge crunch for items. Similarly, if you go online and there is a product in your portfolio which people like so much, you will suddenly see a spike in orders, and then suddenly your stock may run out in one day. Unlike a physical store where the footfalls are limited, the footfalls suddenly don't jump from say 1,000 people a day to 1 million people a day. But whereas online the game is different. It is just people clicking on the website and there is no real cost. You might see 1,000 visitors on your web page today, but if your product is really good, you may see a million customers tomorrow. So there is uncertainty in demand, and the swings start becoming wild. You have to handle something like this. So now, if you switch to the online world, what is it that a business owner has to do to take care of things like this? This is what we will try to understand, or I will try to dig into areas that become important in these fields, and we will see what we can do or what we can implement in the online context. So these are some of the affected business areas, not all of them, but some of them. Advertising is definitely affected because traditionally you might be advertising in radio or newspaper. Now it has to change. How will it change? What changes happen? We will shortly see. The second part is pricing. In the world where people come to the store and talk, pricing is opaque. You need not really put up a price there, or people cannot really compare the price in your store with a store that is 10 miles away or 10 kilometers away. So your store might be, say, in terms of rupees, your store might be some 10,000 rupees for a mobile phone. There is a store that is to 10 kilometers away where they're selling it for 9,500. The 500 rupees may not really induce the customer to travel for 10 kilometers. But if it is online, it is just a click of a button. So the pricing becomes more difficult or very difficult to handle. You can't really have a premium and then still go on to sell the same product. And the last part is delivery, about how do you deliver your products to your customers without any problem, without any damages. Or people, some of you might have been aware of these news that come in up, that pop up occasionally, right? People got a Vim bar instead of Motorola phone, or they got a biscuit packet instead of Apple phone. These kinds of things you would have read on news somewhere, right? So you have to make sure that your items are delivered to the customers without any damage, because customers are more likely to attribute the delivery problems to you. If they order a particular brand mobile and they get an Apple and they get a Vim bar, they are more likely to attribute the problem to the brand and not to the delivery partner. So the brand is the one that is visible to the customer. You have to make sure your delivery is also fine so that you don't face any problem like this. So these are some of the areas, not all of them. All of them would be too exhaustive to cover. And then we will see what changes in each of these areas and what is the new world order for a business. When you are in a business, suppose you are joining a company and you are joining the company's advertising team, what is it that will be more important to you now than what it was before? That is what I will try to talk about, so that it will be some you so that you will be familiar with what you can expect as you go to work. So think of advertising in the world when things were normal and people were moving around. You would see a lot of outdoor advertisements, right? You would see advertising outdoor. You see banners, you see hoardings, you see big billboards in the city, you see posters on the road, dividers on the road, and all these kinds of things were there. And there was also significant print media advertising. People would advertise in the newspapers or pamphlets. They would publish a pamphlet and add it to your newspaper and send it to you. So these are the traditional marketing channels that you may be aware of. And this is now going to change because people are not traveling so frequently anymore. Even though if you travel today, you might not really have that much of time and energy to stare at the billboards. You look carefully around who is coming close to you, make sure you stay away from people, make sure you don't touch anything. You just go to the place you want, buy what you want, and come home. You don't really spend so much time outside that you look at the billboards and say, okay, there's an ad here, let me go and buy this product, or think of that particular product. And in some parts of the country, people have also become cautious of the print media. No, people are worried about the newspapers, and the newspapers also being carrying some infection or some virus. So some people, I am particularly aware of the print media going down in some parts of the country. So typical newspaper ads may work but may not work as well, because more people are now reading news online via their computers, tablets, and laptops. So the traditional media that you know, where you typically advertise, is going to decrease in the reach, and you have to find out new avenues. So for the students here, you who are the younger generation, you might be very familiar with all these channels: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. You might be very well familiar with this. But for a business company that has been there for a long time, this might be something that is new. Companies today have to advertise online on Facebook, Instagram, or whatever channel where the customers are. This is called a social media in the common context. So social media is not just Facebook, but there are a lot of things. Social media can be blog posts where people write about things and people go and read. It can be WhatsApp, it can be YouTube, it can be Instagram, or it can be, say, Snapchat or Pinterest as well. So the companies are now are moving to advertise online. Here the advantage is that they have a wider reach. Now your audience are not limited to that particular geography. If you are advertising in a print media paper, your customers or your target audience are limited to that particular geography. You put up a billboard in central Mumbai, your audience will be people from Mumbai, most likely from central Mumbai. But if you advertise on Facebook or Snapchat, there is a most likely customer sitting somewhere in a far the different city. You can still reach him or her via the Snapchat or the Facebook ad. It is not geographically limited, so you can reach wider audience. And the advantage of it is that it is also customizable, meaning you will see a different ad and I will see a different ad. Both of us need not see the same ad, or it is not mass media. You can customize your communication based on the consumer or the target audience with whom you are going to reach out to. How do we do this, or what are some avenues where people do this customization? We will just have a look. So the first one is Google AdWords. Professor was mentioning something about AdWords and bidding, right? So today, when online advertising has become important, you have to make sure you bid. When people come and search for mobile phones near me, if you are a brand, say if you are working with a company like Samsung, you have to bid for the AdWords. When people search for mobile phones near me, you have to pay some money to Google to make sure that Samsung mobiles come on the top, say as opposed to Apple mobiles or Realme or Redmi. So this is called AdWord bidding. Some of you may be familiar, some of you may not be. But every day, companies bid for AdWords. Today, if somebody in this area searches for mobiles near me, who will show up in the top slot? So Google would be asking for bids and say you bid for $1, I bid for $1.5. They'll show up my ad than your ad, and then this ad bidding cannot go on forever because you have to make sure that your ads are visible and your revenues are your expenditure is also limited. You cannot bid every day, and every day you need not show up as a top ad because there is a very less click through rate. People don't really click on these ads when they search for mobiles near me. So you have to balance two things. I should appear on the top, also make sure people click on my ad on the top. So what are the days when I can bid for it? What are the important times when I can bid for it? So all these kinds of things are important decisions that say an advertiser would make. If they're going to do search engine advertisement, you are going to advertise on the search engines, there are a lot of decisions that you need to make, and these decisions are very, very granular. How much do I bid for, and when do I show the ad, what time of the day, what day of the week, or say what month of the year, or what time or what season during the year. All these are decisions that people will need to make. These are more and more granular, less qualitative but more quantitative, and this will bring in more data, understanding of how was the click-through rates, how was the purchases last year and all. And the second part is social influencers. Sir also mentioned about social influencers, right? So you have to find somebody who is not really a celebrity. You can't always get, say, a Bollywood hero to talk about your product when you are a small company. You might have to find out social influencers, people who are able to influence audience in that particular area. Today in the Indian context with lot of languages, it is not going to be one language anymore. People are not going to say look for influencers in English or only Hindi, but these influencers are also local because each state has a different language. The companies are trying to find out social influencers in that particular language. So social influencers can be anybody, people who put up educative YouTube videos, whatever be the field you are in. There are people who will talk about mobile phones. So if you see one or two videos of that person, you may like that person and then start subscribing to that person's videos and see what is going on in the mobile phone world. So tomorrow, if you're going to buy a mobile, you're more likely to look at that person's videos and get an insight rather than going and blindly buying. So the social influencers are people who will talk about products, who have a good outreach in that particular locality or in that particular area or in that particular language. You have to find them and try to get them to promote your product. So this is the second aspect that you will be seeing. The social influencers was not at all there in the world world. In the world, the social influencer was the store owner. You go to a shop, you ask about the product, the store owner is the one who will influence you, saying that this product is good versus that product, or this product has better service versus that product. But now with online purchases, the social influencers are everywhere and anywhere. They are not the store owners anymore. You cannot incentivize the store owner or educate the store owner and stop there. You have to find out social influencers. Now this is a network challenger trying to find out people with significant social media presence and seeing what is their reach in that particular area or in that particular language. The third one is personalized targeting. The younger ones might be more familiar with it. If you talk with your friends or chat with your friends on Facebook or WhatsApp about some particular product, you are likely to see an ad of that particular product in the Facebook very soon. You talk of running shoes, very soon in a day or two you will see Nike or Reebok ads in your Facebook feed. So this is called personalized targeting, where companies are able to understand what is each person's interest based on what they are talking with their friends or what they are searching for online. And when the companies understand what you are searching for online, they are more likely to show up related products in your social media feed, Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. Wherever you see ads, companies are more likely to promote what you are searching for. So this is called personalized targeting, where each person sees a different ad. So you will now be needing to deal with more personalized targeting algorithms or personalized targeting engines when you try to reach out to your customers. You cannot stop just with search engine or AdWord bidding. You have to make sure you cover the social media space as well. And the last one is contextual ads, where you have to place ads in relevant blogs or relevant websites that are related to specific domains. So if you see this page, this is a page about photography. Somebody is talking about photography, how to take good photographs, or what would be a good photography skill, or what are the kinds of tools required for photographs. And in that you see a contextual ad. I mean, photographers are more likely to travel places, or people who travel places are more likely to take photos. That is a correct way to put it. And then when you are likely to travel, let me bid a travel advertisement for you. Try travel Qatar Airlines, and then you can stay in the hotel in Qatar for a day or two. So this is a contextual ad when people are searching for photographs or photography, most likely because they are likely to travel. So these are the kinds of things you have to look out for. Suppose you are a specific company dealing with something to do with a industry, you might have to place contextual ads in websites related to that particular industry. So these are some changes that you see when you go to advertising online versus offline. Offline, it was like a few newspapers, you have a contract with them, run ads every week and done. But here it has become more granular, more quick, and more measurable. There are many avenues that you need to take care of, and you have more data to look at before you make a decision. So this is how advertising has changed, or advertising will change when businesses move from the offline model to the online model. The second part is the promotion and pricing. In the world before COVID, or before online purchases, where people simply go to a store to buy something, the typical promotions or pricing was simple. You give some specialty advertising items to the store owner. Like you see, you put a big hoarding, or you put a small hoarding in the store about your particular product. It can be Pepsi, or it can be Marigold biscuits. You put a small hoarding there, or you give some specialty items like a keychain, or some pens or something like that. You give push money to the retailer, you incentivize the retailer, saying, if you sell 100 units of my item, I will give you, say, 2% of the money. So this is called push money, where they will aggressively incentivize selling your particular item. But here the incentives are via money or whatever, but the retailer will make sure that he gets the incentive. So he takes care of pushing your item, he takes care of laying out prominently that people are more likely to pick it up and all. The third part is discounts, which are the ones that you give on the product. There are some allowances and there are some free goods also that you do. So these are the things that people were doing in the typical business world. You give incentives to retailers, or you do trade promos. Trade promos. Here the pricing strategy is opaque, because one retailer doesn't know how much you are selling it to another retailer. You can afford to play with price. You can always say that the pricing is high, and then make sure, or showcase it in such a way that you are giving some incentive to a retailer. And then here in this world of trade promo and optimization, you'll have fewer people to handle, because you only have to deal with the retailers. These are few people compared to your customers. So you need not worry so much. It can be an Excel job. You have all the details in an Excel, and then you talk to them, and then you make a decision on, you bargain in person, you bargain with the retailer. You make a bargain and make a decision on the incentive or the push money or whatever, and then note it down somewhere. This was easy to handle via an Excel sheet, where you had a few retailers that you are dealing with on a daily basis. Now, the moment it went online, the number of people you are interacting with has suddenly exploded. It is not your few tens of retailers anymore. It is thousands or lakhs of your customers. So when you give a discount coupon online, that is how you incentivize customers to buy something. This pricing is transparent. Not only can your customer look at it, everybody on the internet can look at it. Unless it is an exclusive coupon that is sent to the customer via email, anybody on the internet will be able to look at it. Just like the customer is able to look at it, your competitor also is able to look at it. So you say 5% off on my mobiles today, your competitor can quickly come back and say 6% off on my mobiles today. So this is something that is a very challenging part when things have moved online. And you also have a lot of customers to deal with. You cannot say I will give one discount to everybody. There will be customers who are very, very sensitive to price. There are also customers who are not so price sensitive. So you give the same discount to everybody. That is something that would not really help you to maximize your revenue or to maximize your yield. So you have to go to differential discounts. Some people get high discount, some people get low discount. How do we deal with all this is a challenge that we have to face when we are going to pricing online. So what are the typical things that you will see when you go to online prices? Is this: if you are a durable product selling online, so there is a small nuance here. Let us say you are an online grocery, then you are relatively better off, because a grocery in Mumbai can deliver to some people in Mumbai on the same day, whereas a grocery in Chennai or Kolkata will never bid to a customer in Mumbai. It will take 2 days for the products to reach you, and they will go back. So if you are buying vegetables or fruits, there is some advantage there, geographic advantage, by being located in the particular city. But if you are a durable goods seller. You're a business who are into durable goods, where the goods will not get spoiled by transit by say after a week or so. Say a simple example is mobile phones, right? So if you're a seller like that, you have to compare prices with your competitors. If you're a reseller, you have to be even more cautious of the price. Take an example of say Samsung mobiles that are being sold by 10 retailers in Mumbai. How likely are you to buy it with somebody who has a higher price just because you like the name on the website? You are less likely because there is no differentiator there. The product is a brand, and the brand's warranty is taken care of by the brand itself, and the reseller is just a intermediary. So the differentiation of the reseller, the store looking fine, the choice being available in the store is all gone. So people simply buy wherever they get a lesser price from. So you have to be very cautious as a seller. You have to be very cautious of the price. You can't afford to have a very high price differential. Somebody is selling it for 10K, you cannot afford to sell it for 11K. Then you have to be a part of the shopping festivals. This is a new trend that has picked up in India, where people go and buy online during a particular time. So the online e-commerce companies promote shopping festivals during that time, where every company gives a heavy discount. They call it heavy. We are not sure how heavy or how low it is, but you do get discounts during shopping festivals. So you have to make decisions on whether I'll be a part of a shopping festival this time or not. If I am a part, how much discount will I give? If I have 10 SKUs, on which SKUs will I give the discount? You have to make all these kinds of decisions, because if you are left with old stock, this is a nice opportunity for you to do with the old stock. So you have to make sure you sell out your old stock and refresh your inventory with new stock, electronics or anything. So you have to make decisions. How much discount is given on which day, what to do, and so on. And if you go to any shopping festival, or if you go to any e-commerce thing, you also see that there are tie-ups. You see that they'll say we have offers with HDFC Bank, Kotak Bank, ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, and so on. If you are not a e-commerce portal, but if you are selling online, or if you are selling via their portal, you also have to make a choice on whom do I go with, because each of these tie-up also would involve some loss of money to you. If you tie up with 10 banks, each bank would demand some percentage of the sales. So you are more likely to lose some revenue. So you have to make a judicious choice of which bank do I tie up with. Now, which bank do I tie up with is not a yes or no or a simple question. If you are targeting some sports goods, running shoes or exercise goods and all, you might be more likely to go up with a bank where most youngsters are likely to be subscribers of. You might not go with a bank that is known to be like a very old brand, where the average customer age there is 40 plus and all. You might go with a bank where the average customer age is 30 plus. So these kinds of decisions are to be made where you need more information about the banks, and only then you will be able to take a call on which bank do I tie up with. And then the last one is personalized coupons. You buy something online directly from the company. After a week or two, you are most likely to get a coupon saying that do you want to get a do you want to get a discount on the next purchase? Or if you sign up for any website, most of the online sellers today ask for your email ID. So if you sign up with your email ID and name on any of those places, they are likely to send you a coupon saying on the first purchase we will give you 5% off or 10% off. So these kinds of discounts are not also blankets. Not all of us will get 5% discount. Based on the customer profile, you send 5% to somebody and say 10% to somebody else. So these are the kinds of things which are personalized, vary from person to person, which would involve data. It is not something that you can look at the graph and say, but you need to do some data analysis and some modeling to identify what would be a good discount for each person. This is going to be a challenge which is more data intensive. Now the last part of it is delivery. The delivery, because in the traditional context, a company would have warehouses all throughout the country, and then they would supply their retailers from there. So retailers would be supplied from the warehouses sitting close by the demand points. The demand is predictable because even if there is a spike in demand somewhere, that retailer would let you know in advance. Even though the retailer may not let you know in advance, he may face a localized stock out. So please understand that there is a difference between stock out of a particular item in a store in one city versus stock out of the item on the website. So stock out of an item on the website is seen by people throughout the country or throughout the world, whereas stock out of a particular item in a particular store is seen by limited audience. So that would be a localized damage, not so much of a trouble for us. Whereas if you're selling online and there is a stock out, everybody knows about it. Now, in the typical world, you would have multi-tier warehouses. To make sure that your supply chain is robust, you have to have multiple tiers from your manufacturing plant to the end customer. You would have a few big warehouses. From there you go to distributors. From the distributor you go to the retail store, and from the retail store you go to the customer. There are 4 or 5 points where goods are stored in between. And then in the case of a stock out or in case of a increased demand, there will be longer lead times. You cannot really bypass any chain. Order would go from the manufacturing plant to the warehouse to the distributor to the retailer and eventually reach the customer. So the lead times are longer. This is the flip side to offline delivery model or the store purchase model that was existing in the country. Now with online purchases, with online commerce or e-commerce, what happens? You can optimize your warehouse locations. Instead of having so many warehouses, you can reduce them to 2 or 3 very big mega warehouses, which can have economies of scale. You can automate them, you can have fewer staff, you can have more computerized dealing of the inventory, you can have robots picking up items for you and all. So there are definitely economies of scale when you have a bigger warehouse compared to few smaller warehouses. But the problem again the problem with such a bigger warehouse again is the demand uncertainty. Suddenly in one area there is a huge demand for a particular product, they are quickly to run out of stock. If they run out of stock, then you are getting back the inventory is a tough challenge, because these warehouses typically hoard a lot of items. Unlike a typical retailer who will have say 100 units of mobile SKU, these warehouses may typically have thousands of mobile SKUs. If they run out of stock, that is going to be a big problem. But the flip side is that there are economies of scale. You are able to save some money when you have a bigger warehouse. And the last problem is the last mile delivery responsibility. Earlier, customer would go to the store, buy something and carry it home. If I go to a store and buy a mobile, it is my responsibility to take it home. I know that I can get it opened up in the store, turn on the mobile phone, see that it is working, make the payment and carry it home. That would be my responsibility. But today, if you are delivering via e-commerce or via online, the responsibility for delivery becomes yours, the sellers. So there is a last mile delivery responsibility that comes with this kind of problem. And so what are the problems or what are the challenges that you will see when you go to the online world of commerce or online selling? The demand forecasting problem that I have been talking about 2-3 times earlier, because the audience are wider. Earlier in a particular store in a city, you have thousands of customers, but online you have millions of customers. And if for some reason they take a liking to your product, which is good news, you may run out of stock and there may be very long lead times. So if there is a swing in demand, the swing will be wild or very bigger than what you would see in the traditional world. So you should make sure you have enough inventory levels to be able to meet this demand. You should also have very good demand forecasting models. It cannot simply be that I will maintain some level of SKU and be done with it. But you should know that if I'm approaching a big billion sale, my typical SKU level is not sufficient. I should have 5x or 6x the minimum quantity that I have, because there is an increased demand for my particular product during the big billion sales. Then online purchases also will require a very good and very strong IT infrastructure. You should have a good data warehouse that will deal with customer centric activities, not a few people making changes, but customers coming online, making payments online and clicking things online and all. So every order you need to be able to capture the transaction properly without letting it go, and you should be able to track the customer's order and make sure where the order is and you convey it to the customer, these kinds of things. So a lot of IT infrastructure would increase when you are going to sell online compared to the traditional model. The third one is delivery logistics, whether you will run the delivery or you give it to a third party logistics company, and whether you will give it to one logistics company throughout the country or whether you go and pick up different people in different places. All these are decisions that you will be able to make. So if you are going with strong players in each geography, you will not have a uniformity of experience. People ordering something in Chennai would see a different experience compared to people ordering something in Mumbai. So you have to make sure that the experience is uniform, because people are able to track their order, see where their order is, whether it has reached the warehouse or not, whether it is out for delivery, when will it come most likely. All these kinds of things are to be taken care of by an IT infrastructure. And if different logistics providers in different areas have different networks, this might be a challenge to integrate. On the contrary, if you go with very one big guy that will deal with throughout the country, you might have to pay more price. He might be more demanding, or the company might require more revenue. So these are decisions that you will be able to make, or you have to make, when you are going to sell online. And the last one is payments. How do we handle payments? If there is a failed payment, how will I refund? Is the refund driven by, say, Amazon or Flipkart policy, or do I have a different policy? Because the payments can fail at different places. The payments can fail at the customer end. The customer's payment did not go through, or the payment can fail at the gateway end or the Amazon intermediary end. Say you're buying a mobile phone online, the failure can happen at your end or at my end, or it can happen at the Amazon server level, or it can happen at the company level. This money has not been credited to the business owner. That is why the payment has stopped. So you have to be able to drill through and see where the payment failure has happened. How do I handle such kinds of things? Which was not a problem in the earlier world. People would pay money, take their goods, or people would swipe the card. Only when they get a charging slip would they take their goods and go. People are not very cautious of losing their money when they buy offline. Whereas online, the demand uncertainties, IT infrastructure limitations, and all may lead to payment failures, even though they may be 1 in a million. That is also not a good thing for a company to face. So these kinds of things also you will need to take care of if you are going to sell online. There are other aspects to things. In the world, the customer care would be the retail store owner. You buy something, that thing goes bad, you go to the store owner and talk to him. And the store owner would consolidate the feedback and convey it to the company. But today, when people are buying online, they are more likely to call the customer care. Like they know how to browse a website, they are also familiar of finding out the customer care number. So your customer care calls are very likely to increase, unlike the olden days where most of the feedback came from retailers. And you also need to have a chat bot. Because people come online, they want to ask you questions. Is this product available in pink color, or is it there in red color? I want a 8 GB RAM. Do you have the 8 GB RAM variant? So these are the questions that a customer would like to ask. If you go to any Amazon product website, this is what you see there as a question and answer. Now, instead of being a static question and answer where there is somebody sitting on the back end and trying to answer this, imagine if you had a chatbot which would talk live. The kind of experience that the customer would get is much better than what they would get via a static question answer. So many companies which are selling online are going for chatbots. Now these chatbots are NLP based or machine learning based. They should not talk nonsense, right? They should talk sense, and they should be able to, this is a computer program trying to communicate with audience. It should be able to understand the context well, make sure it is responding properly so that the consumer does not have a bad experience. So this is one area which is tech heavy area where you might have to interface with the business and then try to get something like this into your company. The third part is social media presence. Sir was talking about trademark hashtags, right? So when you have a particular hashtag, people are more likely to associate it with a particular company. So you say hash Samsung, it is more likely to be Samsung than something else. So trademarks, how do I handle the social media presence? How are my people handling controversies? Because today in the social media world, it is more of controversies than good communication, right? Everything is a controversy. So you have to make sure that your communication is proper. You don't get stuck into controversies. You don't get what do you call impulsive people trying to run hashtags banning you. These kinds of bad press is more riskier today because in the social media, the consumer also can talk back to you. In the print media and the hoarding, if they did not like the hoarding, they did not like the newspaper, they would throw it away. But today, they will post something back, and that post may go viral, may cause more damage to you than your original ad. So these are things that you need to be very cautious of on the social media presence. And the last one is returns. In the world, you go back to the store, give the item to the guy, talk, haggle with him for some time, sit there for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or half an hour, and make sure you get your money back or make sure you get a replacement. But in the online world, the customer is not sure how will he get a refund or how will he get a return. If this is damaged, what do I do? These are the kinds of things that a company should make a conscious effort to communicate to the customer. If things go wrong, don't worry. If the product is bad, we'll make sure we'll return it to you. So there is a communication involved. There is also a process involved to pick up the item back. This is called reverse logistics. This is much more complicated than logistics because logistics is a planned delivery, whereas the refund or reverse logistics is a difficult thing because the returns happen from different places. So you have to plan, you have to schedule things so that people come and pick it up in an optimal way from your house or from your location. So this is also a data heavy problem that you will face if you go out to sell online and if you want to handle returns and refunds online. So these are some of the aspects of it. And this is what I think is the most likely new normal from the business. This is the most likely scenario, not, I wouldn't say 100%, but going forward, any firm, any consumer goods firm is more likely to see more customer facing activities, not just marketing plainly via mass media. You will be talking to or you will be interacting with the customers more on a day-to-day basis than in the old world. In the old world, your distribution, your selling, your discounts were all only to the retailers. You talk to 20 retailers, your job is done. Today, this is now talking to each and every individual customer. So you'll have more customer facing activities. There is increased complexity because different customers come with different nuances. Not all of them think the same. It is more driven by technology because as the scale of the data increases, you have to deal with thousands and millions of customers. It cannot be manual anymore. It has to be driven by technology. So this is driven by technology. The good thing is that all this is measurable and actionable. What is measurable? What is actionable? I will give you a few examples. Okay. If you think of a Facebook ad, people come and click on the ad. So what is the interaction with this particular message? By our mobile, you give an ad. What is the interaction? Use our mobile to improve your productivity. If you put out these two messages, you will be able to quickly measure in a week or a month. You will be able to measure which message is gaining more traction. So everything that you do online is measurable, and from the measurement comes action. You realize that one of the message is not flying, you are more likely to discard the message and then try a new message. So the good thing about moving to the digital world or moving to the customer facing roles are things are measurable and actionable. You will be able to measure each and every step of your business and take good actions to course correct the things, and you will have better control, leading to a more customer centric business than before. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I'll be very happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, sir, for an insightful session. The forum is now open for question and answers.
We have our first question, sir, for you. So Ansh, so Ansh is asking, do you feel that artificial intelligence could mitigate the disadvantages of online shopping?
Yeah, there are various aspects that artificial intelligence can help to mitigate or to make sure that online shopping is as good as offline shopping. I hope you are all familiar with the virtual reality headsets and all, right? Augmented reality apps in the mobile. These are things that are coming in, which will say, suppose you are buying furniture. Just for example, furniture is something that most of us rarely buy online because you go to the shop, you want to see the look and feel. Today there are apps which are aided by AI as well as augmented reality to help you see if I place my sofa in this corner of my living room. So it will impulse put the sofa there and see how it feels. So there artificial intelligence can definitely help in bridging the gap or making the experience as good as it is offline. Yes, the areas are many. It is not just one area where it will help. There are many places where it is playing a good role in bridging the gap.
Thank you so much, sir. So the next question is, with respect to rural India, how much of this is applicable? Are the changes or shifts in trends extendable to rural India as well?
I would definitely say so because the majority of the shoppers, even if you look at the number of people who are buying things or number of people, rural India definitely has more population than urban India. It's just that in the earlier times, the most of the people are concentrated in the cities, but you see that rural India is also spending on goods or on things like urban India. If you are familiar with our telecommunication companies and their strategies, you see that most of them are coming out with apps or with software in the native languages, right? Rural India, the main challenge is English. So people in the cities are comfortable talking in English, but if you go to a village in say Maharashtra or Andhra or Tamil Nadu or UP, anywhere, people's native language is their comfortable communication language, right? So the companies are realizing it and they're going to native languages. You see, Amazon today is available in most Indian languages, the Amazon app. You see, Geo, they have local language support, right? So the telecom companies are trying to bridge the gap and make it easier for us to go and address the rural Indian world. And the rural India will also be able to be a part of this online sales or the online business that's going to happen. I do see that there's a significant scope. Does that answer the question, or do you have any follow-ups?
It does answer the question, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
We have another question for you. Do you think versatility and adjustability are the new normal for business?
It has always been. It's not that adjustability is something that came up newly. You look at, I mean, I don't know if you're familiar or not, but if you go back and look at all the corporate companies that had survived for say at least 100 years, forget about 200-300 years, all the corporate companies that had survived for 100 years, you see that their key strategy had been adjustability. people or companies that did not adjust simply went out of business, like say Kodak and Konica that were making film rolls. Today they are not there anywhere. But Sony, that was also making, I think, something related to audio cassettes and all, today is still doing something in the consumer electronics world. So these are some names. I'm not giving an exhaustive list, but adaptability and adjustability were always there. But the only thing that is different today from previously is that this adaptability or this adjustments have to happen more quickly than before. In the offline world, these adjustments are the changes moved slowly up the hierarchy. You knew of some change after a few weeks, but today you will know it in 1 week or so. So you have to adjust, but you have to adjust quickly. So I would say agile is what I would call it. Adjust, but do it quickly, not very very slowly.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for blessing us with your presence today and sharing such wonderful insights. I'm sure each and every one of us here will learn a thing or two from the experiences and the examples that you've shared with us today. And with this brings us to the end of the inaugural ceremony. We thank each and every one of you present here for joining us today and being a part of this inauguration ceremony for our first international conference on business analytics. A special vote of thanks to our technical coordinators, without whom we wouldn't have been able to conduct this inaugural event so smoothly on a virtual platform. Thank you once again,